Right, we come to another sermon by Charles H Spurgeon to see what he has to say about how to please God. That's the title of this sermon, How to Please God. Let's see what you have to say, Mr. Spurgeon.
Because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists. This sermon was first preached on August 20th in the year 1885 by Charles H Spurgeon.
1885.
The text for this morning comes from the book of Hebrews, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. Without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists, and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Without faith, the text says, it is impossible to please God. Yet not all men have faith. Even among those who have heard the gospel, many have not obeyed it. Isaiah is not the only one who has had to cry out, "Who has believed our message? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" If it is true...
Just a second, just a moment. We know that Spurgeon went down and down and down as his life progressed. At one stage he was standing with the likes of Darwin, another with the founder of the Quaker movement, another with the D.L. Moody, praising all these people and so on and so forth. He also got into the pulpit in Park Street and began subtly to declare that the RSV, the Revised Standard Version, was a truer text than the King James Authorized Textus Receptus. Has it gone this far now that what he has just quoted is not from the King James Authorized? I haven't got a Revised Standard Version, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't quoting from the Standard Revised Version. What he said about the Standard Revised Version is exactly the same as that wicked man John Nelson Darby said. For both of them said that the King James Version is the true version, and that the books or the Bibles that they were offering to the people were for study alongside the King James. That's how sin gets in. Just wedge the door a little. Just take off the fruit of the tree. Well, it's okay. Just take a small portion. That's all you need to do. Just take a very small portion. If you don't like it, just spit it out. Dispose of it. Once the teeth are in, that's it. Once that little point is accepted. Now, oh, this is a study Bible. Thank you, John Nelson Darby, for your literal Bible. Thank you, Mr. Spurgeon, for the RSV. Because you must know, mustn't you, Mr. Spurgeon? And you must know, John Nelson Darby, that these are fine works. I can trust you because you are a man of renown. Oh, Mr. Spurgeon says the RSV is fine for study. Let's get the RSV. And what's he pigging using here? Do you know he jumps on every pigging bandwagon that's going? The RSV was being promoted as being the more truer and authentic Bible of the times. There were many revisions coming out at the times, but that was settled on. That was settled on, and he settled himself on it. Why else would he preach it from the pulpit and decry the word of God as he did? I'll try and find that sermon.
That without faith it is impossible to please God. Then what becomes of the multitude who have heard but have not believed, to whom the word of this salvation has come, but who have rejected it? It is to be feared that God may again swear in his wrath, "They will not enter into my rest." The Israelites could not enter into Canaan because of unbelief. And today men and women cannot enter into the privileges of the gospel because of unbelief.
That's new evangelicalism.
Let us pity and pray for those who do not have faith.
What?
Oh, that God would hear the cries of his children and bring about faith in men and women, for this also is the gift of God. Not only the blessing which he promises, but even the hand whereby we receive it must come from him.
Huh?
There are some who have a kind of faith, and these are perhaps in a more dangerous condition than those who have no faith at all.
That's you.
Because they are apt to deceive themselves.
That's you.
And believe that they are in a state of grace.
That's you.
Whereas they are still in a state of nature.
That's you.
The faith which pleases God is no mock faith, no dead faith, no false faith, no faith in a lie. It is faith in the truth. It is true faith. It is spiritual faith. The faith that saves the soul and makes it pleasing before God is real faith. Many say they believe a certain thing, but they do not truly believe it. It is not real to them. They say, yes, such and such a doctrine is true, and they write it down in their creed and put the creed away on the top shelf of their bookcase.
But that's what you do.
There it lies, covered with dust.
That's what you do.
A man only believes that which affects his life.
That's what you do.
If it is an important truth, if he has really believed it, it will touch every nerve of his being. It will often hold him back from one course and with equal force impel him to another.
Let me just say something here. He has just condemned himself again. Do you know, I'm astounded at this man. Every sermon that I've heard so far, he has condemned himself, shot himself in the foot. One moment he's openly declaring to the Episcopalians and all the rest around, I'm a Calvinist, I'm a Calvinist, for a Calvinist, I believe in the doctrines of grace, I believe in the doctrines of election, I believe in the doctrine of Christ, I believe in the blah, 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 blah. Next minute he gets up in the pulpit, he believes none of it. He starts preaching the opposite. So he hasn't got any conviction. He stuffed it on the top picking shelf and gets it down, dusts it off, and speaks it out to the Episcopalians. And then when he gets too much, the thing condemnation of the man, he then comes out and says, oh well, I'm going to preach on justification by faith or election. And then you start off, and then he goes back to the picking bias of Arminianism, the neo-evangelical Arminianism. So in this alone, he is condemning himself. He says he goes back to his own roots, to the bias of his own heart towards neo-evangelical Arminianism. There's nothing steady about this man at all. There's nothing doctrinal about this man. Anybody can stand up and say, oh yeah, I believe in election. I believe in justification by faith. And faith is granted of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. I believe in regeneration. I believe in... And then toddles off. See him in a pulpit. He's preaching the picking opposite. This is the twisters that these people are. Twisters, deceivers, thieves, stealing an office, stealing a position, which they're not qualified for. Carry on, Spurge. Condemn yourself.
True faith is the most active driving power in the whole world. Faith which works by love works all sorts of wonders. And where there is this true faith, it will prove its reality by its practicalness. The faith of God's elect is not a dead faith. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Neither is he the God of dead faith, but he is the God of living faith. God grant that each one of us may possess this real God-given blessing. But if we have merely a theoretical, nominal, historical faith, which does not affect our lives at all,
That's you.
then we are in the same condition as those who have no faith.
That's you.
And we come under the description of the text, without faith. And without faith, it is impossible to please God. Before I enter upon the exposition of the text, I would like to make a quick search throughout this place to find out any who are without faith.
Would you?
Without faith, you are without God. For God is only apprehended by faith.
Listen to it. I. In every stinking sermon, he comes back to this. I will search out this. I will see who's good at this. I will do this. And it's all just words. This booker doesn't get out of the pulpit and examine everybody in his audience, because that's all it is, an audience. It's just picking words. It's just entertaining the people. Haven't we woken up yet to this bugger? Haven't we? Oh, we're still sleeping, slumbering and sleeping lethargic. We need a generation. We need to pray to God that it is in the decree of God to bring about the next generation that shall not be asleep, but be awake. Not slumbering and sleeping, as we are. Do you know, we have Christ as our foundation stone. Faith comes out of eternity. Spurgeon doesn't see this. He doesn't see this in this. It comes out of eternity. It's fixed faith within the Lamb's Book of Life. Everything that is owned by a Christian is deposited with the Christian in the Lamb's Book of Life, and it flows out from the Lamb's Book of Life and is revealed in time. So there's no part missing. So the likes of your holiness movement, the tongues movement, and all these devilish movements, and the Spurgeon neo-evangelical movement, etc., are condemned. Are condemned. When a person has Christ revealed in him, neo-evangelicalism says, oh, you've got to invite Christ in. You see how perverse they are, turn the tables. That's what the world does. Always have an eye, by the way, to the world having turned the tables. Try and get that eye of discernment. When Christ is revealed in us, it means we start again, a new life. And we've got to learn again the ways of a new life, not the ways of this world. We're born into this world and learn the ways of this world. When we're born again, we are to learn of a different world, enter into a different world, grow in grace and in knowledge of a different world. In other words, apply ourselves to that other world as much as we would or should do with our jobs in this world. Outside of our jobs, our daily jobs, whatever they may be, we have to return home, as with the mornings, and to seek, to learn of the Scriptures, to read the Scriptures, to learn the Scriptures, to mull over the Scriptures. And not only just for doctrine, that's principle, but for everyday life. And as we grow, year on year on year on year, and we should grow to become mature beings, then we see more, and we see Spurgeon. When we see these books here, they come as clear as day. The more we grow in grace and knowledge and wisdom and truth, in patience, in understanding, all the eyes of God. When we see these persons as they really are, we have dug through the wall and seen them for what they really are. Not for what they present themselves to be, but for what they are. It's like a politician, isn't it? The face they put on. And if you were to approach them, you'd see a different pigging face. Different face altogether. And it's the same with these buggers. And people are shocked because they're children in their understanding. They believe that these persons are genuine. But once they come up to them, they're shocked. Because again, they're children. They don't understand. They're not adults. If they were adults, they wouldn't be shocked. They see it as the norm that these boys here are all actors. Carry on, Spurge.
Without faith, you are without hope. For a true hope can only spring out of a true faith. And you are without Christ. Consequently, without a Savior. Without the means of the removal of your sin. Without the help with which to fight daily the battle of life against sin. Without Christ, oh, it would be infinitely better to be without your eyes, without your hearing, without wealth, without food, without clothing, without a home, rather than to be without the faith which brings everything that the soul requires. Without faith, we are indeed spiritually naked and poor and miserable, lost and condemned, and without a hope of escape. Without faith, could that be written as a correct label and hung upon your back? You might not perhaps be ashamed to wear it. But if an angel can see it on your forehead as the description of your character, I am sure that he is greatly concerned about you. But your fellow man, who would happily speak to you so that you will not leave this place without faith, feels troubled that there should be anyone in this land of Bibles, this land of Sunday worship, this land of revivals, this land of the gospel.
This land of revivals. I told you. Huh? He continues to destroy himself in the pulpit. Land of revivals. He's talking about D.L. Moody. And that of commitments to an impotent Christ. And of course he mentions in this that God is impotent until somebody puts their faith in him before they leave this congregation. I'll say this because I'm sick to death of listening to this waffle. True ministers of God rather than these neo-evangelicals are shepherds. And what do shepherds do? They lead the flock in the way, the right way. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And what is the right way? It's the way of being instructed in the way, on how to deal with the issues of life. This is what it used to be. This is what we must return to. The issues of life. Neo-evangelicalism, that leaven of the Pharisees, that which H Spurgeon and Tozers and all the pig in West promulgated, has taken over. You go in to any church establishment now and it's waffle. There's no practical Christianity. In fact, it is anathema. Absolutely anathema to congregations and ministers today to preach on everyday practical terms. Practical terms. It's anathema. Because the ministers have not a clue. They're no different than ministers of state who haven't got a clue. The ministers are not dealing